Commerce Department this morning finalizing a roughly $7.9 billion manufacturing award to Intel. The Biden administration appearing to be moving to get money out the door before President-elect Donald Trump takes office. Joining us right now on the state of the U.S. manufacturing chip business, if you will, and all the global competition, Chris Miller, a professor at the Fletcher School at Tufts University, the author of Chip War. This does seem to be a lot of sort of last-minute finagling before the Biden administration turns it over to the Trump administration. And I wonder what you think of what they're doing here.
Well, I think the industry has been pushing to get these grants wrapped up as soon as possible. Companies want the money that they need to build their factories. And so they've been pushing the government to hurry up and get the grants over the line. And I think we've seen with TSMC a couple of days ago and with Intel today, some of the big grants being wrapped up.
No, I totally understand that. But then the part of the question is, are they trying to get this money out the door so the Trump administration can't, I imagine, try to claw it back, which I imagine they might otherwise want to do?
You know, I think there's been a lot of focus on this question, but if you zoom out, the CHIPS Act was first brought up in Congress under the Trump administration. TSMC's first investment in Arizona was announced during the Trump administration. And so there's been actually a whole lot of continuity between what the first Trump administration put in place and what the Biden administration's been executing. And so I would downplay, I think, the significance of campaign trail rhetoric. The reality is that this legislation was supported by both parties in both houses of the Congress, and I don't think the new administration is going to dramatically change it. And so the grants that are being finalized right now, they're likely to be supported by the next administration, too.
Given the challenges that Intel is clearly having, when you look at the grant program, if you will, do you think that a decade from now, we're going to look back and say, this was great, we did it perfectly, or not even perfectly, we did this well, we're happy we did this? Or do you think we're going to look back, like I think a lot of people look now at even some of the EV efforts or EV charging efforts that didn't appear to work the way they were supposed to?
You know, I think perfect is a pretty high bar. I think if the question is, will the CHIPS Act have spurred a major investment boom in chip manufacturing in the United States? The answer is already pretty clear. It's yes. There's been something like a 10x increase over the past couple of years in investment in chip fabs relative to the trend over the prior decade. TSMC, for example, already has a plant up and running in Arizona with the manufacturing quality, the company says, matching what it can do in Taiwan. And we've got big projects underway with other companies as well. I think, you can't see with a crystal ball any specific company's plan. And that's why the government's making a broad array of bets. It's got a portfolio of 24 different grants in different types of the technology spectrum. And so it knows it's not going to predict perfectly. But I think the broad portfolio is already having a major impact on investment in chip manufacturing.
Where do you think the success? So if you were to identify what you would look at as a success in all of this, beyond the sort of broad macro of what you just suggested, are there any specific examples you go, that's a win, that's a win, that's a win?
I think if you look at TSMC's investment in Arizona, which is a plant that, as I mentioned, is already up and running, that's a plant that would not be here had it not been for the U.S. government pushing for it and incentivizing it. And if you rewind the clock to a year ago, all of the discussion was about how TSMC couldn't do it, how the labor shortages were too intense, how construction was taking too long. And yet here it is. It's up and running. Costs are still a bit higher than in Taiwan, no doubt about that. But there is real diversification coming from that. And that's just the first of 3 plants that TSMC says it plans to build. If there hadn't been a CHIPS Act, there wouldn't be that facility.
Look out 5 years from now. Do you see the possibility of competitive chip manufacturing in the U.S.?
I think there's no doubt.
Because if it's more expensive than elsewhere, that unto itself is a complication.
For sure. I think there's no doubt that as there's more chip manufacturing happening, costs will fall as ecosystem effects emerge and you begin to get some economies of scale. Right now, there's a pretty substantial cost differential, especially for leading edge chips between Taiwan or Korea and the United States. That's going to fall. Is it going to go to 0 over 5 years? I'm not sure about that, but is it going to decline enough that companies are willing to pay a little bit more to have a more diversified manufacturing base, I think that's plausible. And the fact that companies like TSMC are willing to make the bet on not just one facility, but multiple facilities over a decade in the US suggests that they buy the business rationale. Even if costs aren't exactly the same, they think they can make the case work.
Okay, so I understand the TMC piece of this, given their expertise and their success. I'm more questioning the Intel piece of this, which is to say that business has been challenged for a long time, and they have not seemingly gotten to the same point as TSMC. Do you see them getting to that point? And how much more money do you think the U.S. government may have to give them?
I think that the key challenge Intel faces is not money per se. No doubt they're happy to get their CHIPS Act grant. The key challenge they face is winning customers for their business. And that alone is going to determine the success of their effort to build out their manufacturing business in the US. Will it work? I don't have a crystal ball. I think it's got a shot, which is why the company is continuing their investment. But it is a tough market, and TSMC is a pretty tough competitor. And so it's far from guaranteed. But if you're sitting in the US government shoes, you'd rather make a portfolio of bets and see which company succeeds in the marketplace rather than just trying to pick a single winner and put all of your eggs in a single basket.
Do you think we have enough competition, chip competition in the U.S.? You know, there's been talk about potentially a tie-up between like an Intel and an ARM, for example.
Well, I would say those are two companies that operate in pretty different segments of the chip business. Intel's focused on chip manufacturing and designing specific types of x86 chips. ARM is in a completely different segment, selling intellectual property and licenses. And so, yeah, they're in the same industry, but they've got entirely different product sets. And so if you're looking at antitrust issues, you've got to segment beyond just the chip industry. I think there are segments where one might be worried about competitive dynamics. That's where you've got only a single player in a single segment. And if you look at Intel and ARM as two examples, they're really in entirely different swim lanes.